achieve. Because I do the things I should, to my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow. So whatever my mind can see, that I will achieve. Because I do the things I should, to my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, to reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on. So whatever my mind can see, that I will achieve. Because I do the things I should, to my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow. So whatever my mind can see, that I will achieve. Because I do the things I should, to my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow. Because I do the things I should, to my brethren, kind and good. So I'll keep moving on. I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on to reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on. I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on. I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on.
Oh yes, my Street Dog family, I am here, and I know it's time for me to say good night to my Street Dog family in St. Kitts and Nevis, and to all those in the entire Caribbean region. To my Street Dog family in the Kittitian and the Vision diaspora, I say greetings to all who are logged on to ZIZonline.com. Those of you who are connected on social media as well, on Facebook, YouTube, and whatever platform you are hearing us from, it's time for me to say good night. I can say good morning. I can also say good evening and or good afternoon, whichever one, because some of such greetings is applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. I know some of you are in Africa, some of you are in Asia, there's some of you in Europe, and there are a whole lot of you all over North America. So I say greetings. My Sherlock family, I must take some time out to congratulate some of my fellow constituents who got awarded. I know Teacher Pearline Mussenden got the Medal of Honor for her hard work and dedication over the years as a teacher. We also must recognize Pimenta Laws. You got your Medal of Honor as well. Arthur Rollins, who's got his award, so too Nalda Bailey and many others. I'll get those names straightened out as we go along, my family. But congratulations are in order for all of them, my family. And as we continue tonight's programming, I must give you an update on the Wellington roadhouses, since we ought to keep you informed. And just to let you know, this was reported by our distinguished Prime Minister, who said this.
We have a question also, Mr. Prime Minister, this one is for you, about the houses on Wellington Road, asking why they haven't been distributed as yet. Do you have an update on that?
What I can say today, I asked the Minister of Housing, because I anticipated that we would have a question such as the one that was posed for an update. Last I checked my phone, I had not yet received it. What I do know, however, that the Wellington project is a joint venture between, broadly speaking, the government of Venezuela and the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. And the principal operator, the principal agent for the government of Venezuela has been off island and medical leave for an extended period of time. We have been communicating with her. There was some paperwork that needed to be finalized, some I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed. I think her physical absence from the state, and given the nature or the reason for absence from the state, that have helped to create a delay.
Well, some I's to be dotted, according to Prime Minister Harris, and some T's to be crossed. But I made my position absolutely clear in respect of the non-allocation, if I can use this word, non-allocation of these houses, and I will continue to do so, whether I am inside or outside of Parliament, or whether I am an ordinary citizen or the ambassador of the United Nations. That does not change one iota in respect of my love for constituency number 1, where I was born, where I was raised, and where I still live. Suffice just to say that you know me and I know you. The Wellington Road Housing Project and the East Street Housing Project are part of the overall slum clearance in East Basseterre, my brainchilds. And until they are complete, I still have work to do. I have some unfinished tasks, political and otherwise, in St. Christopher number 1, affectionately known as East Basseterre, and my Newtown posse as well. Many of my people are anxious as they are in dire need of a house. And I feel a sense of your distress. But just like Moses summoned Joshua and said to him in the sight of all Israel, I encourage you to be strong and courageous, for you shall go with the people into the land that the Lord has sworn to their fathers to give them, and you shall put them in possession of it. My people, it is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. So do not fear or be dismayed. Deuteronomy 6-8. Be assured as well, my people, that I will never forsake you or let you down, and I will ensure that you would get a house. Keep hope alive, because there are 36 more houses to be built, so stress not yourselves, my warriors from the east. I know you're anxious, and I understand that. For that reason, I have since written to my colleague and Minister of Housing, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, for an update on the allocation of these houses. I am aware that to date that the loan agreement has not been signed by the NHC, and I'm also aware that a visit was made to the site a few days ago. I can only encourage the new NHC chairperson, Mrs. Malvi James, to provide the people of East Basseterre, and by extension the country, with an update, and I'll avail this platform, Straight Talk. You can have the entire 2 hours. Give us that update and hear from the people as well. That's the latest I have on this project. Remember, I said it's 60 houses to be built, so there are 36 more to be built, if my mathematics helps me out good tonight. Tonight, however, I wish to focus on COVID-19, which has shown no signs of abating, no signs of subsiding, waning, or going away. Over the last year, I have been rather vocal about the hypocrisy of and the immorality within some people who know better and should do better, but for their political ambitions. Their hypocrisy is rank and offensive. And I spoke of the media that morphed into panic factories. And that upset some people. And for that, I am sorry. But I have to call a spade a spade. Even as we speak right now, it seems as though we have forgotten that the World Health Organization, the WHO, on March 11, 2020, last year, declared the novel coronavirus COVID-19 outbreak a global pandemic. Lest we forget that at a news briefing, the WHO Director General, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, noted that in a matter of 2 weeks, he said this back then, the number of cases outside China increased 13-fold, and the number of countries with cases increased 3-fold. Straight Talk always provides you with evidence, yes, with facts. And this is what Secretary General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Ghebreyesus, said back then, sometime last year. This is exactly what the WHO Director General had to say.
In the past 2 weeks, the number of cases of COVID-19 outside China has increased 13-fold, and the number of affected countries has tripled. There are now more than 118,000 cases in 114 countries, and 4,291 people have lost their lives. Thousands more are fighting for their lives in hospitals. In the days and weeks ahead, we expect to see the number of cases, the number of deaths, and the number of affected countries climb even higher. WHO has been assessing this outbreak around the clock, and we're deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction. We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
Yes, Straight Talks always provide the facts. And that was back then. As we speak, there's some 208,470,375 confirmed cases worldwide. Some 4,377,979 confirmed deaths. Of the recovered cases are 188,210,215 persons recovered. Further increases were expected. He said, that's Dr. Ghebreyesus, that the WHO is deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction, and what he called on countries rather to take action now to contain the virus, and we should double down and we should be more aggressive. And aggressive we were as the Team Unity government introduced emergency measures in March 2020.
My fellow citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis, last evening I asked His Excellency our Governor General to declare a state of emergency Effective 7 p.m. today, Saturday, March 28, 2020, all citizens and residents will be subject to a curfew between the hours of 7 p.m. and 5 a.m. each day for the next 14 days. This is part of our scaled-up response to contain COVID-19 and minimize harm to our people. The emergency powers COVID-19 regulations provide for every person to remain confined to their place of residence, inclusive of their yard space, to avoid contact outside of their family, except in stipulated circumstances.
Yes, and my Straight Dog family. I was a member of the cabinet, and I can testify that the introduction of a state of emergency was not an easy decision to make. But we had to come to grips with the fact that the world was in crisis, and what became paramount in our thoughts was the safety and security of all of our people. The safety and the security of our people was paramount to every single member of the cabinet.
I have said repeatedly that in a crisis, the safety and security of my people are my primary responsibility. Therefore, we acted quickly, decisively, and deliberately in putting measures in place to shield the people of St. Kitts and Nevis from the devastating effects of a most dangerous virus. Bold, courageous actions had to be taken to prevent the loss of lives in our beloved country. We would all remember the closing of our borders, the stay-at-home regulations and lockdowns that were all imposed early in order to contain the virus.
And over 5,000 persons, remember, suddenly had no jobs. 5,000 persons became unemployed. But as a government, we never abandoned them, and our response was compassionate. As lest we forget, in August 2020, we rolled out the first stimulus package. Lest we forget, you ought to be reminded that back then, in August 2020, we rolled out the first stimulus package.
No other government anywhere in the world has gone as far as we have in terms of our stimulus package. It has been comprehensive and it has been thoughtfully put. Our people, however, must make adjustments. Adjustments are required by all of us at this time. Even as we look at the reopening of school, the government has taken a policy decision that all who require their uniforms will get them again absolutely free.
But 1 year and approximately 6 months after the WHO declared the novel coronavirus COVID-19 outbreak a global pandemic, I wish to refer you to the U.S. National Library of Science, and in particular to the National Center for Biotechnology Information, NCBI. The latter advances science and health by providing access to biomedical and genomic information. There's an article you will find interesting entitled "The Comparative Politics of COVID-19, The Need to Understand Government Responses," written by Scott Greer, Elizabeth King, Eliza Mazad Fonseca, and Andre Peralta Santos. I invite you to just scan the abstract from this article, which reads in part, and I quote, "COVID-19 has created a ramifying public health, economic, and political crisis throughout many countries in the world. While globally, the pandemic is at different stages and far from under control in some countries, now is the time for public health researchers and political scientists to start understanding how and why governments responded the way they have. Explore how effective these responses appeared to be and what lessons we can draw about effective public health policy making in preparation of the next wave of COVID-19 or the next infectious disease pandemic." The authors argue that there will be no way to understand the different responses to COVID-19 and their effects without understanding policy and politics. Let us look at the politics and the political opposition parties in St. Kitts Nevis, the Caribbean, and in the world for that matter, collectively. Democrats versus the Republicans make a good case study if we are to understand policy and politics in the context of the war against the COVID-19 pandemic. Examine the role that opposition parties continue to play within the Caribbean, though. It is clear that all of them promote a politics-first strategy instead of a strategy that puts life first. It is happening in St. Kitts Nevis, in Antigua and Barbuda, in St. Lucia, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, just to name a few, in Grenada and in Barbados. But all these opposition leaders are so hypocritical as they themselves have all been vaccinated, yet they are promoting and encouraging their supporters to protest. Remember in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, an attempt was made on the life of his Prime Minister, Comrade Ralph Gonzalez. We spoke about that just over a week ago. And I believe we ought to be reminded about that incident.
The person who threw the object at me, the projectile, that it hit me in my head, at the top of the head. It could easily have come, as the doctors tell me, lower down to the temple, and where there could have been immediately far more serious damage. When you throw a stone or some other projectile at someone with the intention to hit them in their head, and given the delicate nature of one's head, you have in mind the intention to kill. You have the intention to cause serious bodily harm.
Yes, and this caller from St. Vincent and the Grenadines to my program last week tried to justify the position taken by the opposition NDP. And he called to say this.
I'm calling out to St. Vincent. Last week, Monday night, you have given some wrong information about that the opposition leader is opposing the vaccine. The opposition leader in St. Vincent is not opposing the vaccine. We are opposing the thing that the Prime Minister changed the bill and said it compulsory that everybody should have vaccine. So that is what people are against. You shouldn't tell me what I should put in my body if I don't want to put something in my body.
A little bit convoluted, but that's what straight talk is all about. You're entitled to your view. Meanwhile, in Antigua and Barbuda, the police took a firm stand against protesters. I think that was last week, Sunday. The police in Antigua and Barbuda did take a stand, a no-nonsense one.
We start with verbal persuasion. That was done. We start with displaying of written instruction in the form of a banner. That was done. And still, the organizers and the protesters decided they were not moving. As a result, the police had to go to a next level of force, which was to use tear gas to disperse them from the city of St. John's. When the fire tenders came to extinguish the fire, they started to attack the fire trucks by throwing stones. And we had to use the police officers to escort the fire truck.
That was in Antigua and Barbuda. In Grenada, there was protests on the streets because Carnival Monday and Tuesday holidays were revoked as a result of COVID-19. Could you imagine that?
My friends, I have observed a very disturbing trend in recent weeks. One that can only be described as a growing culture of defiance, an increasing tendency towards lawlessness. I readily acknowledge that human beings are social creatures, and restrictions, especially over an extended period as we have done, are difficult to endure.
Lawlessness. We have unfortunately seen what can be described as an increase in lawlessness in the Caribbean and throughout the world. Here at home, private businesses introduced their own COVID policy and have begun to implement such policy. And the workers who chose to challenge the policy of their employers have had to face consequences. And my heart goes out to this young man who had two choices: get vaccinated or face determination. Face termination. And the young man chose the latter.
The COVID came through last year. My mother also had the COVID in the States. I was working last year with all that on my mind. Never once tell TDC that I will not show up to work. And they came up with the vaccine, and I asked questions, constantly asking questions about the vaccine. And then we keep going on and on and on. We end up at a meeting with all the unvax. And, you know, I went out back to work. I was on vacation, went back out to work, and they said, well, you didn't take the vaccine. So, and I was waiting. I called this morning. And when I called, they tell me to go human resources. And the lady gave me the letter. Well, not letter. She showed me a paper, say, you're terminated with immediate effect. You're terminated with immediate effect.
And my heart, like I said, goes out to this young man. But that was his choice. I provided these background details to demonstrate that the COVID-19 response has been different in different parts of the world. The debate continues all over the world. But here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we need to recognize that we are part of the global village. The Delta variant is in New York. It has migrated all over, and unfortunately, it has migrated to our beloved land, St. Kitts and Nevis. And this was confirmed by the medical chief of staff just a few days ago.
If too many people remain vulnerable and become infected with this variant, our healthcare system will become overwhelmed and more people will die. The unvaccinated among us are at greatest risk. Unfortunately, most of our children who cannot be vaccinated.
I think I got the wrong soundbite for you. This is what the confirmation sounded like.
If too many people remain vulnerable and become infected with this variant, our healthcare system will become overwhelmed and more people will...
I'll get that for you, my Stray Dog family. That's my bad. But yes, the Delta variant has been confirmed right here in St. Kitts. And this was confirmed, like I say, by the medical chief of staff, Dr. Cameron Wilkinson, who said this. I think I have that soundbite now.
Samples were sent off to CAFA for genomic sequencing on July 28th. The results returned over the last 24 to 48 hours confirmed the presence of the Delta variant in one of the samples tested. This was an inbound passenger who was in quarantine and has since recovered. It is comforting to know that the Delta variant was found in someone who was in quarantine and has since recovered and was not found at large in the community. We will be sending off further samples for genomic sequencing. A number of our neighbors on this side of the globe already have the Delta variant, including Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, Martinique and Guadeloupe, Barbados, Puerto Rico, Anguilla, Saba, the United States Virgin Islands, and St. Martin. We will not be spared, and we must be prepared for the eventuality.
Yes, we have to be prepared. We have gone from a low of 45 positive cases in 14 months to a high of 742 cases in just 4 months. That must give us cause to look up, be positive, and do the things that are right.
The response to the COVID-19 pandemic continues here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. During the period May 19th to August 18th, we have seen an increase of 663 cases, confirmed cases, of which 545 persons have recovered. There are currently 115 active cases with 7 hospitalizations and 3 COVID-19 related deaths.
My Stray Dog family, we are an intelligent people. So we must have learned by now that with choices come consequences. And with rights come responsibilities. My message to you tonight is that this pandemic cares nothing. Cares not about which political party you support. This pandemic is above politics. And it is time we understand that, my Stray Dog family.
I personally find it disappointing that when we as a nation and people are facing our gravest threat in a generation, when we must come together and stand united, some people seek to use this to make political points and sow distrust and fear. This pandemic is above politics. It knows no party, no class, no colors. At this time, we must stand united to defeat it.
Yes, it's not too late to get united to defeat this pandemic and this Delta variant. The coronavirus cares nothing about your political allegiance. Some people get uneasy when I say that Timothy Harris is the best Prime Minister. And I'm sorry if I upset someone, but I have to talk the truth. When one analyzes his performance to date, no matter what side you support, and many on the other side have concluded that Prime Minister understood the threat of the virus, the uncertainty it caused, and the time and fiscal pressure it brought to bear on our economy. Prime Minister Harris no doubt understood them, and after careful examination of how these variables affect political and economic outcomes, he made well-informed decisions. The small business sector was buttressed in exactly the way, no matter what you hear them say. The small business sector was buttressed in, as I said, a targeted way.
I want to turn now to our support to the small business sector and note in particular that in our last budget, we in fact proposed $3 million for the continuation of the Fresh Start program. As of June, I am advised that 45 loan applications were approved under that program, totaling $3.1 million. We have extended bond facilities at our customs for small businesses unable to cover customs duties on the importation of vehicles and commercial goods. The short point is that in almost every sector, the government has responded in a targeted way, bringing relief to those most in need of it.
My family, we have to hold up our side of the bargain. Here in New York City, an indoor vaccine mandate has been introduced. Mayor Bill Blasio made this announcement. Very interesting announcement, and you better believe and you better conform. Mayor Blasio said this.
Today I announce a new approach which we're calling the Key to NYC Pass. The key to New York City. When you hear those words, I want you to imagine the notion that because someone's vaccinated, they can do all the amazing things that are available in this city. This is a miraculous place, literally full of wonders. And if you're vaccinated, all that's going to open up to you. You'll have the key, you can open the door. But if you're unvaccinated, unfortunately, you will not be able to participate in many things. That's the point we're trying to get across. It's time for people to see vaccination as literally necessary to living a good and full and healthy life.
Yes, time to see that vaccination is necessary. To participate, you need to vaccinate. Here in New York City, enforcement begins on September 13th, which was rolled out this week, August the 16th. Is this an example for other countries, even the Caribbean?
This is crucial because we know that this will encourage a lot more vaccination. We've seen it already. We've seen the impact of the mandate we've put in place for city workers already starting to move people to vaccination. We've obviously seen the positive impact of incentive as well. The goal here is to convince everyone that this is the time. If we're going to stop the Delta variant, the time is now, and that means getting vaccinated right now. This new policy will be phased in over the coming weeks. So we've been working with the business community, getting input. We're going to do more over the next few weeks. The final details of the policy will be announced and implemented in the week of August 16th. So over the next couple of weeks, getting more feedback, finalizing the policy, publishing it, and beginning to implement it. We'll then spend most of the month educating people, going out to businesses, receiving calls from businesses, answering questions and concerns, making sure everyone understands the new approach. And then on September 13th, during that week, we'll begin inspections and enforcement.
September 13th, inspections and enforcement. New York is serious about fighting the Delta variant. Let us get more serious, St. Kitts and Nevis. We have to protect our young ones, in particular, from this Delta variant. My people
die. The unvaccinated among us are at greatest risk. Unfortunately, most of our children who cannot be vaccinated can be more impacted by the Delta variant than other variants or the original virus. Our elderly are also more likely to become symptomatic, be hospitalized, and die if infected with the Delta variant. This means that they are even more dependent now on us who can be vaccinated for protection.
Yes, my straight dog family, my plea to you tonight is to get serious, St. Kitts Nevis. My message tonight is that it's not too late to go and vaccinate. Put your country above yourself and let us together continue to manage our recovery. That is my story tonight, and you'd better believe it. It's 12 before 9. I'll open the lines and entertain your calls and your emails. I always like to implore you, though, just before I do that, in a few seconds, to respect others. And to achieve that, you must first respect yourself. Let us try to be fair to all concerned. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And let's, in the process of saying and doing those things, let's in the process strive to build kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. These cases have to be addressed. I'll open the lines and entertain your calls and your emails. At 11 before 9, I go to the lines. Caller, you are live. You are live. Yes, caller.
Good evening, Mr. Patches. I hear you playing a clip and calling my name. I want you, Patches Liburd, to understand. Because you see, you believe you're some kind of bully. There's life after politics. And there's consequence after politics. Because all you believe that people doing things like a wrong thing in this country.
What's your story?
What? What is my story?
What is your story, sir?
My story is the kind of wicked injustice what's going on in the country. One lady worked 32 years for the government, for the company. And you're saying you're justifying to fire people in that manner? Huh? But Patches, people must remember.
I said my heart goes out to you, young man.
And you don't come by people's place to vote for you. Remember that, you know? Remember that, Patches, everything a consequence. So when you're playing tape, remember Everything in this country got consequence, patches. Because you all are wicked, you all are cruel to the citizens of this country. And there's a time will come when we got to vote. And you patches, when the people place, want them to vote for you. So continue on defending a lot of wrong things. Patches, you would fire the most place in this country. You patches Liburd. But Douglas them play with you. Douglas them is playing with you. You're in your place. All are becoming wrong in this country. One more work 32 years for TDC, and you're telling me go home with $2,000 and you're ready to defend these things, Patches? Boy, I better stop playing people.
What's your point, sir?
Patches, what is my point? Stop playing with people.
I got your point. I've got your point, my brother. And I will say again, as I said before, my heart goes out to this young man who had two choices. The policy of the company was you get vaccinated or you face termination. And your choice was the latter. And that's your choice, and you're entitled to your choice. But again, my heart goes out to you, my brother, and that is your choice. You've made it very clear to the public.
The COVID came to last year. My mother also had the COVID in the States. I was working last year with all that on my mind. Never once tell TDC that I will not show up to work. And they came up with the vaccine, and I asked questions, I constantly asking questions about the vaccine. And then we keep going on and on and on. We end up at a meeting with all the unvax. And, you know, I went out back to work. I was on vacation, went back out to work, and they said, well, you didn't take the vaccine. So, and I was waiting. I called this morning. And when I called, they tell me to go human resources. And the lady give me the letter. Well, no letter. She showed me a paper, say, you're terminated with immediate effect. You're terminated with immediate effect.
And again, my heart goes out to you. But you had two choices. Get vaccinated or accept or be terminated. You chose the latter. My Straight Dog family, you're live. Thank you for holding. You're live.
Good night. Good night, Patrick.
Yes, good night, sir.
Yes,
good night, my brother.
Patrick, I don't know how serious the people of this federation think it and need it. Take this coronavirus, especially now the Delta variant around. And I made to understand we had a case here, but it was a case coming, and the person then get well and everything. And I hope to God that he didn't get in contact with nobody because to spread it. Because the situation is terrible, budget. And we got it like a joke here. We are now parading ourselves like some political clown all over town. When people are sacrificing themselves to make a contribution to the COVID task force, to so much people going into quarantine, and some people going into the emergency room of the hospital with the COVID, government got to pay for all the expense, and some people just careless and don't want to stick to the protocol. And that is what's going on in this federation right now with our people, especially when they think it. I don't know much about it for Nevis, because Nevis only got 25. And now, you outline everything tonight. The Prime Minister outlined everything. Mr. Mark Bradley come and he show every Wednesday night and he outline, tell the people go out and take the vaccine. That is something, some things they know, device in which. I hear the children to take it. You hear all kind of negative things coming from these parents. Some of them they don't support the government. Some of them don't take the vaccine. But after the children, the grandchildren never take none. It is never that and that, never that. You understand? I don't know how serious these people got the country at heart. There's something to save your life. There's something, even if you get in contact, you cannot dead. You can't die from it. And these people just parading up and down from taking this thing a politics. You know? Giving up because of ignorance. Giving up because of ignorance. Eh? Nobody saying about the people get up. If I get a company, and I say that you can't come from the company because you take the vaccine. What is that? What is it? I tell you what, to tell you yourself. What is your wonderful, the God bless Federation of St. Nevis. Good night, Anne. And good night, good for the Nevis here, coming out today. God bless the patches.
Thank you. And just for information, just in the event we misunderstand, the TDC group of companies introduced a group policy for crisis situations. And the scope of the policy applies to all current employees of the respective companies and will apply to future employees during its continuance, and no category or level of employee is exempt according to this policy. The Section 2 of the policy refers to vaccination against COVID-19 and or any other measure approved by the company to protect its business or employees in a crisis. Is referred to as crisis measures. And Section 2, subsection 1 reads, and I quote, "Where, save on medical advice acceptable to the company, an employee has failed or refused at the date hereof, or fails or refuses hereafter to be vaccinated against COVID-19, or where an employee refuses to accept an act or any other crisis measure, he or she will be subject to the following action at the discretion of the directors. A, take vacation leave. B, suspension. C, termination of employment with notice. And D, termination of employment without notice where the law permits." As I said, my heart goes out to this young man, but he had two choices and he chose one. Let's go to the lines. Caller, you're live. I thank you for holding.
Hello.
Oh?
Hello.
Hello? How are you? Yes, I'm hearing you.
Good night. How are you?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
Okay. I just want to ask a question. Is Timothy Harris Tonwedy fellow? When he used to come on all the radio station and Lego hit threats, and he never yet said Prime Minister Timothy Harris this and Timothy Harris that. But I'm sorry that it happened so, because time like now, nobody's supposed to lose no work. But how he coming on is like he want to fight you. The Prime Minister not doing nothing. Why do you always want to go down his throat? If somebody said vaccine, he not hearing straight. Stop come on the radio and go on like a big bull. Okay, see you.
Thank you very much. Let's go back to the lines at 9 p.m. Call you live.
Yeah, name say good night. You know, it's a bad thing when we don't listen. When we don't listen, we always come out with the wrong information. Now, you did not mention the young man's name. You only said the young man. And could imagine that he come out and he say you call his name. Because then you're listening from the time you start. So why should people always want to put people in bad spot when they themselves are in the same bad spot? Now, that is, you make yourself clear. You play the clip. You play the clip that everyone, all and sundry can hear. I don't understand why we are so politically messed up, poison rather, and come on the radio and say foolish things, make ourselves look so foolish when we say wrong things and trying to put people in position where they're not have not supposed to be. And you know, it really bothered me that we say we got 98% illiteracy in Sinkit, but it seems like some of us are so illiterate that we don't listen. We come with such a rage that we're ready to fight. But I want to tell them, you know, let them go and fight with the virus, not with you and not with Dr. Harris, because Dr. Harris is doing a good job, and that's what happened to the people in Sinkit that support the opposition party. All they think about is to jump down Dr. Harris' throat because he came from the Labour Party and he's doing a good job, better than the leader of the Labour Party. And this is what hurt them. And I'm happy that Dr. Harris is a man with a good heart, a godly man, a man who knows about poverty, so he can come and run the country with what little money that he have. This country, just imagine that we don't have any foreign direct investment coming in here, and Dr. Harris, the little money that he got, that saved from the surplus to run this country and running this country so well. That is what hurt some of them, and they're going to continue to hurt them until the next election. You know why? Because Dr. Harris is a man who believes in God, he trusts God, and anything he's going to do, he put God first. And this is what happened to them. They can't take it. So tell them that they need to go down in prayer and ask for forgiveness and get themselves right, because they need to check themselves, because they need to put self aside and let good common sense prevail. Our country needs to wake up, because if we get the full blow of the Delta variant here, a lot of us, our people, may end up lost their life because of stupidity. Dr. Pattis, you have a good night and continue to do good work for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. We are doing well. Dr. Harris is on 5 more years. I will select Biko in Nevis. I summons him to 5 more years in government. God bless you. Have a good one. Let us talk about that.
God bless you as well, my dear brother. The God is for you. Who can be against you? Caller, you're live.
Good night, Mr. Ambassador. How are you doing?
I am peaceful, Rasaya. Yourself?
Give thanks. Me giving thanks. Good night to you and your listeners via radio and internet. I already play some clips there. I just want to really understand the clips there you play with the medical chief of staff. I already state that the best way we could go forward, because of the wave that is taking place now in this virus, this pandemic, and this makeup vaccine that I am bringing forward to the shows to indicate that we must able to take is to be vaccinated. And what about I would like to see that with the statement he's making, he's saying that the elderly people are on the vulnerable stage, because if we ain't vaccinated, they could be able to catch this Delta variant virus, as they call it, COVID. And he was outlining that within that part of the elderly, that they will able to contract it more easier, and even of the younger ones. I would like to say that's a lie, because basically there is no virus. It's a make-up plan, but you all are contained by the Freemason. And now it's kind of the work of the Freemason. Both the government in the whole entire world are controlled by the Freemason. And I want to contemplate to the people to let them know these are plans that have been issued out from a long time. Ain't something just coming to being, you know. If something have planned for years, but they are taking the shift to now, because it's what they want to imply as a one world government, world domination. But y'all ain't looking at that. That's what you're saying. You can't share with how Tarner just come out and explain what the position he has faced and his work. We have seen all human rights are being tampered because of what y'all have contained within these global control. So let me hear what you have to respond with.
Rastayo.
Yeah.
Have you ever got the flu any time in your life?
Well, it's a normal context when you see when flu comes, yes.
You have got flu before?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you. It's a normal context.
Okay. Have you ever taken the vaccine before?
No.
Never?
No, I do my own self. I don't go to the doctor, and Mr. Ambassador, you know, I'm not trusting the doctor, but I respect them.
Okay. Alright, but some people like that. So
I'm telling you straight tonight that this pandemic what you all are working with is a global control. I don't tell you Attorney General that already. It's a global control I putting on people just to make people be fear in one world government. But me not trust the New World Order, nor the Freemason. There are people who trying to scare human rights. It's time now, and I heard the assistant commissioner went on program and said that either today or whether yesterday it could be, but I made a mistake, and I heard him saying that anyone who partaking in any unlawful protest or march, that's you can if somebody pursue and write into the commissioner and they get to ask for a march, they have a right to pursue for the rights to be protected. You can't just go. I see things going on here because these are the way they implementing global control. They make sure I got the police state in hand, because they putting it forward to the police state is that they say. And I got information is something I'm making up, because you are sorry dealing with science, but we deal with facts here too. Because these people have done push out these agenda a long time ago, but they're just taking the effect now to see how they are issuing it into the New World Order concept. And I realize that the police are the part of the protection, how they're using the force on the people. That's why I'm being cautious, because anybody put their hand on me, I'm telling you all, it's a world war we have seen going on here, And it's not violent we're looking for, but we want to see equal rights and justice for one and all. So vaccine can't save people. You all stop telling people lie now. And tell the Prime Minister, as I said, he's not going to work with this dirty vaccine now trying to put down on the youth them. It's not going to work. Equal rights and justice is what's going to work. You all have a safe night.
Thank you very much, Asaya. Let's remember, with the rights comes responsibility. Let's go back to the lines. Call your line.
Patches, you was protesting.
So,
Patches, you all do what you all want to do in this country to get in power. Patches, I'm going to say to you, Mr. Politics, my hands are clean. Never rob, never thief, never rape. Just remember them 3 words. That's the problem with all you. As the man tell you, what happened to people human rights? But as I said to you, Patches, the ballers live in the tongue. An election will come round again. And you're going to be coming in some places in the tongue to look votes. So when I continue pressing people, remember people got family. So when you're sitting down there and rejoicing, just remember, there's an election coming up again.
Come ask your question.
Well, not me no question, Patches. You're wicked and you're nasty. Good night.
Alright. Okay. Alright. Irrational.
Yes, good night, good night.
Caller, you're live.
Yes, Mr. Patrick, this is unfair and very unfair. In 2015, I, Bernice Nut Lady, went in my white shirt, matching with Mr. Timothy, So this is a new organization coming up named Unity. And it had a daily rain came down while we were marching. We come down Kayan Street and they diverted us down to the gut. Rain, the gut was running a little bit. Yeah? We couldn't go down Church Street. They said no Church Street for us. And it's down there we had to go. Remember, we got to go down there in the gut water. All because we want a new government, and now that is how they're treating us. We need better. We need to come better. Right? And the 6 months thing wasn't no joke. They know what they were doing. Come to this song out there, they know what we're doing. You see? But everybody don't bigger there.
Well, what's unfair?
What's unfair? Because they want the people to go quietly tomorrow and express themselves. Because they work with so much in TDC and what they doing, that is unfair. You want to like to be working so much years in a place and they turn you away and they pay you what they pay you, you to hurt your heart. But they wanted the vaccine or no vaccine. And let me tell you today, of course, now my girlfriend dead because of the vaccine now. Yeah? She took it and she done went in the place twice. Into the hospital twice. Right? And now she passed. Because what happened, she must have never explained either to them that she have a little part in her. Me not go take none. Me suffer with some kind of thing. Me not take none. But now fear, give us justice. That's why he tell us that we won't get justice. And we rally behind him for justice. Well, peace, love and harmony. Not peace, love and heartache, no. We need it to be fair. The person not just walk around with a little placard and saying what they're saying. There's nothing, no cause to go down by the Fort Thomas about the gain up for tomorrow. What is there to give up about? Me don't went down Church Street,
that's a police matter.
Yes, but me don't went down Church Street, Behind them, Mr. Keynes, Mr. DuPont, and some other people Friday, like tomorrow, left my busy schedule, Just because I didn't feel like I was going to get justice. But it seems that the justice go on out the door here. But we need justice and they must stop. Take people for a fool, man. Stop take people for a fool. Stop take people for a fool for the whole world of hear us, man. We are in a crying session now. Right? Just justice. Just so we get. We have to tell you that they don't go down Church Street, but we come down the gut. And who had long pants, you only sing the pants foot on the wet and wet around. I could remember good, and we used to go all up boardwalk, by the Caribbean Bank up there, And we were demonstrating, please mine, justice mine, okay?
Okay. Got you loud and clear, Bonus. The only difference today, in comparison to what you're referring to, you had a government who failed to bring a motion of confidence to the parliament. As one Jewish said, you had a government that made the parliament into a useless instrument. If you're saying that's happening today, then I can agree with you. We had a government that could not control crime. We became the modern capital of the world. We had a government that could not control its debt. We had to swap our land. So I don't know. I'm trying to find out what you're referring to about justice. Caller, you're live.
A pleasant good evening to you. Patrice.
Yes, my dear. Yes, my dear.
A pleasant good evening to you, and how are you?
I am peaceful. I haven't heard you for a while.
Yes, because I can't get in. You got people getting 6 and 8 and 10 times, and I can't get in once. I just is to relax.
Well, that is so. I'm so sorry about that. How to do it, I don't know.
Oh, I'm fine, thank you. I'm glad to hear your voice again, because he wasn't listening in action for a very long time. So I'm glad he wake up and he come out. And my father get 1,005 after over 50 years he worked on the estate. And we have some people in this place here seem like they want the government to do everything for them. And up to when the government don't do everything for them, and they go aside and they hear people talking, they come and tap the radio and bash the government. It ain't the government make them, when they have time to put something aside, they never put nothing. So now that they cannot get nothing, they upset with the government. If any government did them that. And so parties, when people calling on your shop and they start to talk, and you ask them, can I ask a question, and they want you nothing from you, get them off the radio. Have a pleasant night, and God bless you.
God bless you as well. I'm so happy to hear you. I can see those dimples, my dear. How are you? Caller, you're live.
Good evening, Honorable. Now, let me explain something to you.
People's King.
Yes. You in your right mind, or anybody in the right mind, can believe somebody work for a government, work for a private firm for 26 years and get $2,500? No, it can't happen. Don't care where you calculate that. Let her come and talk the truth. If you trust the people, things and them to go in your house where you get from government, right? And you pack up your house with the fridge and the stove and your furniture and so on. And you decide not to abide by the rules. And you decide to fire yourself. Nobody fire him, he fire himself. They're going to take out the money first and give you the rest. So when people get in sympathy with him talking like, well, they rob him. Rob what?
The People's King. Mr.
Yeah.
Rock.
Yeah.
I prefer you to put that in a calypso than on straight talk.
Now, well, he put me in a calypso now. Because every day he call him the name and the radio and I never trouble this man yet. Every day he call him the name and the radio. He make a calypso out of me. But December will see for himself. Okay?
Yes, leave it to December. Okay.
Okay, brother. God bless you.
God bless you. Thanks for understanding the People's King. Let's go back to the lines at 9:17.
Good night, Mr. Liburd. How are you?
I am peaceful, my warrior from the east.
St. Thomas. Let me say something to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Nothing happening in St. Kitts and Nevis that is not happening in the Virgin Islands now. I work at a hotel. And let me tell you something. The other day, we have 2 hotels owned by one company. And the other day, the human resource manager came from the Emerald Beach Hotel over to the Liburd Hotel where I work. And he stick up posters all over the hotel saying, if you have the vaccine, bring your card to be copied to put in your file. If you do not have the vaccine, anyone on the property do not have the vaccine has to go and take a COVID test every week, 72 hours prior to your schedule, otherwise you're not going to get a schedule. You're telling you you're not going to get a schedule, they're telling you you cannot come on the job. And then make sure they join it in with the union. So the union is aware of that. Okay? So if you don't want to take the vaccine, nobody going to force them to take the vaccine. That's the truth of it. But you're going to go and dig up or you choke dig up every week with 72 hours prior to your schedule. Okay? So, tell the people thank you, if nothing different happening up there that is not happening in the Virgin Islands. You have to have the vaccine, or you refuse to have the vaccine, where they're not forcing nobody to take the vaccine, but you're going to have to come with a COVID test every week, and the company said is not paying for it. So you're going to be paying $160 for a COVID test every week, or you wait for the 3-1 every Tuesday at Home Depot, or every Thursday at Lionel Roberts Stadium Round Hospital Zone. So me, Patricia, will go and take a COVID test every week, digging up my nostril and my children? No. Patricia already took the vaccine. One on the 6th of April, one on the 27th. God bless my heart. Okay? Whatever anybody think negative about the COVID, don't send it to Patricia phone, because my phone ain't no garbage cheap. Keep it to yourself. God bless the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I stay there. Bye, Mr. Liburd. God bless you.
Hello. Patrice? Patrice?
Yes, sir, you're live.
Yes, good evening, sir. I couldn't hear you.
You're live.
Yeah, I want to send sympathy to Miss Ivy Baptiste of Fund Extension on the passing of one of her relatives. Now, Patrice, let me tell you something. I listened to your opening remarks and whatnot. And you explain something about an individual who was working with a company. The company gave that individual 2 options. You either comply with what we request, or you make your own decision and you stay away. Well, the company did what they had to do. And so therefore, that individual has to blame himself. The company did not tell him we fire you because you're out there on the street talking this and that. They laid down the rules and the regulation. But we all know the old gentleman used to be up and down the place. He never changed his clothes. Contender say his girlfriend she living in the band for carnival. She do everything in the band for carnival. Well, this man do everything in the pants. Now, would you think it is fair for any taxi bus, passenger bus, to pick up passengers, and this man want to go in the passenger bus to go to another place? You think the driver would allow him in the bus in his unhealthy condition among the people them? No, because they don't contain whatever germs he's carrying in his clothes. And that is what the company them are doing. They are protecting the employees, the rest of the employees, the innocent ones them who will get affected by who is positive with whatever it is. So that's why they give them the option, 2 options. You either take or don't take. And let me tell you something, Patrick. I can't tell you how to run the show, but anybody come on your show and you want to engage them, and they're going to refuse in such a disrespectful way. Next time you hear the voice, cut them, clip them, bam, let it go. You can't do that on Larry King. You can't do that on other people's show. But they're going to come on your show because you're talking to them about that's my friend. That's my friend? No, none of friends should be disrespect. Is respect and understanding and everything. You can't be that. And let me tell you something here. A lot of people, 1983, when the information came from the States, that there was a new disease or virus out there called HIV/AIDS, and how deadly it was. A lot of people go protect themselves with whatever way you can protect yourself. But a lot of people ignore it, and they end up in the hospital and the sick bed. And when they're there and they realize, what is it they're doing from here then? Why me? Why me? Lord, why me? Doctor, you can't help me. Doctor said, no, it's too late. You should have protect yourself. Protection is the word. Protect yourself from the fiery darts, and then you will be safe. Good night, Patrick. Have a good night. Thank you.
Have a good night. And you know, right here in New York, residents have to prove vaccination status with their cards or apps like the Excelsior Pass and others, right, to enter certain establishments, movie theaters, restaurants, cabaret and nightclubs, cafeterias, and the list goes on. But let's go back to the lines. Call you live.
Good evening, Patrick. I'm very, very disappointed with you this evening, with how you allow this guy to abuse you and humiliate you. I am very, very surprised with you. I don't think that is it. Listen, this guy believes he's the biggest bully in this country, and whatever he says goes. I heard him said today he and his son will be marching tomorrow. This guy fully responsible for whatever takes place in his decision not to take this vaccine. And let me tell you this, it's a political decision. If Labour was in power, he would have been the first to take the same vaccine that he do not want to take now. But he is all about this guy. The guy just have a mixed-up mind. And he figured that everything implemented by this government, he's supposed to oppose it. That is the attitude of this guy. This guy used to work at the airport, and every time a minister of government travel, the people them know by WhatsApp, they just gone, they just come. And they had to pull his ID. And the same company who rescued him, they say, boy, we're in a position for you to put him to work in a different area that he couldn't have a job. And this is the attitude he wanted to be on the radio, calling the directors all kind of name, all kind of evil, and disrespect you tonight, and you take it. Hey, I got to wake up and understand the evil mind of that guy. That guy, his brain is toxin. He feel like if nobody else running this country, he's not taking no order from nobody. Read into him deeply. Do not let him fool you and coward you and intimidate you. I've been studying Curtis Cook. You know what is a cook? I've been studying him for a very long time. And I see who he is. He's an upset. And he believed he could intimidate and he could mobilize people. But no, do not afraid him. And I know for sure, I would not be afraid of Curtis Cook. He know who's speaking, eh? He know exactly who's speaking. And you need to stand up to him. And do not allow that boy to treat you like a little boy. You as an ambassador, you as a minister of government, and let him respect you. I agree with culture. Do not entertain him again. I'm very sorry. And when you see he's trying to be emotional, to give his false impression, as if only he one can talk. He could talk now to other people, but he cannot mess with me. That is all I got to say for the night. Good evening.
Thank you, my brother. And that's what straight is all about. But I take your point, but I don't really see it as intimidation. I said on my program here some time ago, the late Wellington Moore once met me. I was arguing with a young man, and I felt this tap on my shoulder, and he said to me like this: never argue with a fool, as he would bring you down to his level and beat you with experience. I later learned that was one of Mark Twain's famous quotations. So that's something you can apply yourself. Never argue with a fool. He'll bring you down to his level and beat you with experience. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you live.
All I said to that caller, I born in St. Kitts, I live in St. Kitts, I have a right to speak however I want to speak. I work on the airport for 15 years, my brother.
Anymore tonight. I think I had enough for you.
I never ever.
Right? I think I had enough for you. Perhaps you can go to the Panic Factory and discuss that. I think we had enough of you. Let's go back to the lines. Caller. Hello, caller.
Your namesake. Namesake is Vegas.
Yes.
Now, I don't know what is wrong with our people. It seems like we lost our mind. It seems like we get so politically blinded that we tend to get angry over things. But John Youngman called it tonight and it really upset me. Now, when they talk about the Freemasons and the One World Order, if they know about the One World Order, they need to teach it to us. Because, could you imagine, because the government is saying, take the vaccine to protect yourself from getting sick when the Delta variant or the virus hit you. And people using the word Freemason and One World Order. I mean, something got to be wrong with our people's brain patterns. We get so confused in our mind that we can't see ourselves before we see something else. We always see something else before we see ourselves. We need to wake up out of those dreams. When the One World Order come, I hope they will be able to contain it, because the Bible speaks for itself. And if we know the Bible tells us that in the last days, perilous time will come, and what will happen. And we are saying that people need to read the Bible and stop letting people fool them with all kind of rubbish. The garbage need to go down in cannery dump. That is this time for us to wake up and get sensible and get wise and stop the fools. Everything we hear from social media, we run with it. But we don't run with the truth. We run with all kind of rubbish. We need to stop that. This is something that we are seeing happening in our very eyes. The COVID is killing people. And why we got to talk about One World Order and Freemason? I mean, come on. We need to wake up people in St. Kitts and Nevis and stop the fool by this bunch of rubbish that you are speaking on the radio. And then we talk facts. We're talking about the Delta variant, that protect yourself and your children and your parents and elderly from getting sick. Because when you get sick, it's going to cost you money in order to get rid of the sickness. This is something that we are talking about. Huh? And they come with that kind of mumuness. I mean, it's time for us to get civilized and stop the fools. Seems like you want to go back into the days of slavery. That is you guys doing a good job. And continue to talk, but trust me, the moderator need to cut people when they see them talking a bunch of garbage. Because, I mean, it make me sick. You see this young man keep calling and trying to make a kind of foolish statement when he himself to be blamed for what he does. Because you can't walk into my business and refuse to take the vaccine and want to come in there to infect other people. It can't happen. And I'm saying it's time for us to wake up, man, and stop this nonsense and get civilized and stop back like as if we've not been to school. That is, I'm so sorry the way these things are happening, because you're trying to teach people the right way. And because we're trying to do the right thing, people are coming with that kind of a camouflage, trying to fool people. People, wake up. Don't let people tell you no nonsensical stuff. Listen to truth and sense. Save yourself from this pandemic. Take the vaccine. If you want to dead, well, the choice is yours. God bless you, parties. Have a good night. Stay safe.
Have a good night as well, dear brother. And just to make it abundantly clear,
one caller speaking.
Straight talk, we talk hard stuff. Truth is tough.
As I
I've never in all the years refused to take a call, because this is what straight talk is all about. But when we have someone who do not want to have an intelligible discussion, then we'll have to part company. You have no right, Mr. Cook, if you can't have a discussion. Yes, you can bark, you can shout, but let's have a discussion. Don't bark, shout, and talk untruth and run away. Not on straight talk with you. Calling you live. With you.
Yes. Like I said, as I listen, the argument, COVID yea and COVID nay. Okay? First of all, we must take our emotions out of this. This is the court of right and wrong. You're violating my freedom, my rights, my sovereignty. Listen, I believe everyone have a choice to make their decision. Those who want to take it, the vaccine, that's their right. Those who don't want to take it, that's their right. But how? There could be a balance. I'm going to make a short summary. Proponents upon the evidence that has been argued throughout the year and now, okay? Those who vaccine, they know they are clear in shunning. Losing your job, you cannot enter my property, etc. and etc. Listen, those who don't take the vaccine, at least if they go and take a test, the test does not entail jabbing you. It's just a test. So at least I will make a verdict. Those who don't take the test, go and take the test. If you are negative, live. Those who take the test and take the vaccine, both of us could live together. Because I mix among people who don't have the vaccine, but they are negative. I have no problem with that. But it's a violation of their rights to force them, put them under pressure, jeopardize their safety, their jobs. Because remember, regardless to what, all of us are humans. Everybody got to eat. Everybody got to live. Everybody got to survive. But to deprive someone out of their job, and that's the way they'll survive, because everyone need money, and they work. I mean, we got to have a balance. We cannot be one-sided, and we got to take emotions out of this. Everyone has their right to choose. I'm not looking at any, this is not a political statement. I just being fair. And I think I being fair. So, there have to be a balance. It's not everyone who can take the vaccine either, because some people. Yes.
Yeah, but caller, are you there?
Yes, I am here. You know who I am, brother.
You mentioned balance, right?
Yes, yes.
And you're living in the USA, right?
Yes, I am.
And the federal workers, for example, have been mandated to either have the vaccine or you have to do a COVID test. I think it's every week or every 7 days, whatever time is. Is that the balance you're talking about?
Yes, I will say that. But in terms of at least everyone should take the test to know where you stand, because it's either or either. You don't have the virus or you have the virus. So most people who are making that assumption of not to take the vaccine feel like they are negative, but that's just a word of mouth because they have not been tested. At least to all those who don't think that they will take the vaccine, don't need to take the vaccine, at least go and take the test. To know that the argument that is being argued, you are assumed vulnerable. You are assumed that you don't have the efficacy to deem you proper to be free. Obviously, society has those people not free. So it's all up to each individual to make their choice. And I hope the choice that each individual make is deemed proper in their respect and their dignity. I mean, I really feel, so what? I don't think no one should lose their job because of that. But then look at the job position. Look at your company position. The company make their rules too. And like I said, it will have to be a choice between the individual and their job, the ultimatum that they face, or they suffer whatever consequences. So I hope everyone will do the right thing. But at the same time, we need a balance. How we are going to find that balance? We got to find that balance. Else this argument going to be going on and it will never stop. And it has to stop. And this does not need a political statement. This does not need any political vindication, because we are humans. So, I hope something work out. I'm not going to make a decision for anyone. Everyone make their own decision.
Got you?
Yeah.
Got you loud and clear. Let's go back to the lines. Call your line.
I think good night again. Patrick, I come up with my parents then, right? My mother had 14 hours. I will come up real rough, tough and hard. Patrick, with you?
Yes, yes, you're live, you're live.
Yeah, Patrick will come up real tough and hard, right? And me tell you, Patrick, that I used to always hear my mother say that, do not be spurred up and power hawk when I was a little boy coming up. And I used to always ask her, what mama, what do you mean by that? She would say, you're going to find out. And I always hear her say that, look for black sheep before night come in. And mama, what do you mean by that? You're going to find out. Patrick, I live by them words and I learn by them words. When she said, look for black sheep at night come in. And Patrick, I live by my mother's words. And I make sure I look for all the black sheep before night come in. And all my sheep them is white. So when I go, when night come in, I know where to find my sheep because all the night are there.
I know where to find my sheep. Patches, there's a lot of ignorant people in this country just trying to fight down the Prime Minister of this country because of his political beliefs and because he removed himself from the Labour Party. They're trying to say all manner of things and do all manner of things. The Patches, he backward. And I behind him 100%. Patches. Up to last week Friday, I wasn't feeling so good. I was on the baby train sitting down. And the same gentleman come there with saying what abusing, cussing the Prime Minister, calling him all kind of regulatory name and all kind of things. The fact is, when you tell him what I forget to take out my phone and tape him and let people hear him, how you cuss and say, come on, and you just some saying like you don't cuss people and interpret people. The fact is, time tell it, time longer than 10, so let go ahead. Because when I the registration and Bill Sylvie in Henry, to cost everybody who try to support this unity administration, I do not know the problem. I do not know the problem. He calling to me to try to defend me with the amnesia minds. He tried to set me up on a video voice note, put my niece on a voice note to talk all kind of nonsense about me. But I want the people in the community of Bells Village know that the kind of person I am. You understand? So nobody studied on me that. So Patches, the guy just an ignorant fool, and he just remains himself just like that, a political fool. And Patches, I tell you plain in this country again, nobody gonna make me a political fool. And never who call me and talk about help from government, they don't want it, and they go to government, and the march that, this and march that. Tell them if they didn't look at the black sheep before they come in, they will not have a problem because they live out of Singleton and they live all over the world and still not a problem. So the government don't bring children. The government is not a parent. The government we let the government to look over the state of the country. You understand? To do the right thing. And from this unity government going, there is no exception to the other government coming and doing this unity government. Patches again, you have a wonderful night. May God bless this federation of St. Nevis. We're going to get there over this pandemic. Good night.
Yes, we will, my brother. Let's go straight back to the lines.
Good night, Mr. Ambassador.
Good night, sir.
Yeah, I just want to call in to clarify something you call up to talk about, that saying that where I make a statement about the Freemason, and I just like to let him know he could look up this name, Adam Whitetop, since he wants to understand what the starting of the engage of the Freemason be and what the plan was to employ and world domination and one world government. Because as you say, you look into your Bible, I like to say, read the scriptures them. And he said, what been hidden from the wide and prudent will reveal unto the babe and suckling. So I can't fool me with all chicks and give me to you. I've been searching history a long time, I just know it. So please, my virgin, me know who you be and you know who I be. So don't try to come to them things there, maybe because me could expose and see things just as how you see things to virgin. So let the information flow and let it flow properly, because I ain't a fool around here. I do research just as how you do research. You might contain yourself in your version of your King James, but there is more than the King James. You must wake up and open up your eyes. Y'all have a safe night.
Have a safe night, Plus Aya. You go straight back to the lines. Follow your line.
Yes. Good night, Patrick.
Good night, dear.
Yeah, hi. Good night. Good night, Mr. Lyra.
Yeah, good night, Pat.
Yes. Yes. I just want to say this. I remember. Yes, hold on. I just want to say this. My father, Busso, everybody knows Busso, the taxi driver. A lot of this thing that they're talking about is that politics into it with the vaccine, and we need to stop it. My father, Busso, he had a thing stick on his car. When Dr. Simmons done, when Pam got in power, when Pam won and got in power, he went and got a sticker, and he had a sticker stick on his car saying, born tree, tax to death. So I went to him one day and I said, Daddy, where you get a sticker from? He said, somebody give him. I said, why you stick it on your car? He said, Patricia, you know, see they carry up everything, you know, see, I said, so what you want to tell me? That taxes just gone up and taxes just start since Simmons win the seat? I said, so when Blatcher was in power, they didn't have no taxes. When Liburd was in power, they didn't have no taxes. When Mr. Southwell all of them was in power, they didn't have no taxes. But now that Simmons win, they have taxes that you born to and you tax them to death. I said, let me tell you something. You need to keep politics out of this. Tax is something that you have to pay. Go into your Bible and you see where you have to pay tax. I say, render unto Caesar what is Caesar, and render unto God what is God. And you say, that's what that is me. You need to take that off the car, because that is not right. Dr. Simmons did not raise tax. Tax is something that been paying all the time. So I said that to say this. People putting the vaccine politics into the vaccine. Now, I'm not betting anybody who don't want to take the vaccine. But my thing is this, you don't want to take the vaccine, and your job site wants to protect those who took the vaccine, well then take the COVID test every week. You have money, take the COVID test every week. Go and take a COVID test to make sure that you have your job. But you don't jeopardize nobody. Don't jeopardize nobody. And like I said, I am not forcing nobody to drink water if they don't want water to drink. But don't jeopardize nobody. Don't get sick and go in and make others sick and cause a whole company to shut down. Take the vaccine after the COVID test every week. That's what Patricia said. Thank you, Mr. Logan.
Thank you very much. That's a reasonable position. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Mr. Ian Patches Liburd, how are you, brother? Greetings.
How are you, sir? I am peaceful, my brother.
I'm cool, under the weather, and listening to your show attentively, as always. Mr. Patches, when the government invested money to tell the country concerning they would be getting vaccine through COVAX, it was a good step, seeing that the government has had no alternative. The question that I asked myself, Mr. Patches, the rolling out of the vaccine and the what anticipation you were looking for? Did we were looking for smooth anticipation, seeing that we had so little cases, or we might have get some kind of hesitancy? Because everything someone do, you must have some vision of what might take place. Because a true leader is one who realizes by faith that he's an instrument in the hands of God. And if we agree that Christ don't come and we must walk in the footsteps of Christ, whatever we do, whatever policy a government implements to its people must be reasonable, because you always have to show that Christ-like manner of yourself and your works. The coronavirus, Mr. Patches, is showing up many persons' attitude. And why we must that? We live in love. We say we are a Christian community. But why we must let something seems to dividing us? And we are not even listening to say, why this is happening? These are questions we have to ask ourselves too. Why we must be divided if something is good upon your people? Because it's about liberation, you know. We can't live life and govern without seeking liberation for your people. Remember we say, we know, Mr. Patches, we accepted every Christian version that come down to us.
and we continue accepting everything. But no Caribbean government until today, even though the people, the majority of the people, have a little hesitancy, they are not asking themselves, why my people are so hesitant over this? Let we ourselves know, as heads and doctors, put an analysis on top of this. No, they're afraid. Many are afraid because leadership is about sacrifice. Leadership ain't just position, you know. If you going down the road with your flock of sheep and you hear your sheep them making a certain sound, you don't continue going. You're going to make and see what is really happening. So if you're governing your people and your people are hesitant of something that they know, it's things that happen in the world all the time. But this time, they're a little hesitant. Check out why they're a little hesitant. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. Not just because even when a man drinking a beer, doctor tell him, man, listen, don't drink that. Because somebody always cautious of what goes, because your body is the temple of the Lord. We can't outrule those things. And if God give us a guidance way for we to live our lives, and things are implemented, if we are so godly, why we must feel this hesitancy and not taking a check of it? That's the questions I ask myself, Mr. Patches. As I said, when the government put out the investment, but from since that, so much thing has been unfolding. It's time for we to ask ourselves questions. And most of what's going on is just authority. People in authority, business places in authority, they're just putting down their foot. Just to authority. Because we can't always look at the Americans. We know how they think. Is more evil than good. And we know that. So, in the Caribbean and in our country, I always feel we take the example of how the vaccine is going about in our country. Many are saying, okay, if you're unvaccinated, you got the virus, or you're unclean. That's bad. Well, you must feel your people unclean just because they're vaccinated. You want to say for the future, that's the way the immune system would work? No, there's no natural way of your immune system continue to be working by building your immune system and the way God had given you that body to do. Some of it also are authority, some in authority, feel to themselves. They are fearful of their own health, so they feel if because one is unvaccinated is a problem. If you say you're vaccinated, you're protected. When a policeman put on his armor, he go out there in the fight because he's protected. When you take a vaccine and John Paul come by you, Tom, you mustn't feel scared of that. Why you must feel scared of that? So if you fall down, Tom mustn't lift you up. Mr. Patrick, you got to be continue Christian-like and stand firm and always remember God is in this struggle. Mr. Patrick, have a good night and you continue to be strong and stay healthy.
Thank you, my brother. Same to you. Always respect your interventions and just listen. Sit up and listen to you. Caller, you're live.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Liburd. I have a simple question I want to ask. The toward policy and the action policies that companies would take and is an action, something that they put in place. Is this always happen with company? Do company always have policies, or policies just started since this coronavirus came in place? I think you would have heard you say you work with Hasfords and the port, before. So I think it's best to ask you that question because you would know, if these companies would have had policies in place all the time, or this policy is something that just started since this coronavirus come in place. That's something I want to find out because I don't know. So I want to find out.
For the future. And
I'm sorry, I think we should not lose sight of the fact, that this COVID-19 or coronavirus-induced pandemic is something we have never seen before. We don't have a template to deal with it. And the fact is that we have dealt with it exceptionally well. But yes, all companies do have their policies. I mean, you have shareholders, I have directors that are accountable to their shareholders, and their staff are accountable to the directors. So yes, you must have policies, but you have rights. Of course, we have a Protection of Employment Act, and it's very clear. And once companies, and all companies, function, work within the parameters of the act. And if this company puts a policy in place, then they ought to be guided by the policy. And I like how the medical chief of staff, he put it this way. And I think the ordinary man could understand this.
Your action affects every single one. If you are hypertensive and decides not to take your medication, that affects you and you only. And so you have a choice whether or not you take your medication. But if you have a disease that is highly infectious, yes, you may choose not to vaccinate, but I can choose not to be in your space within 6 feet so that I can catch the virus. So if I have a private office and I know that if you come into my private office and you infect me and my staff, I would have to close down my business for 14 days and might go out of business, not be able to pay my mortgage, not be able to feed my family. I have the decision to make whether or not I would allow you in that business. And so with choices comes consequences. And so we can't say we can voluntarily decide not to get vaccinated, but you want to impose your risk on me and my business and my family and the country.
Well, that is self-explanatory, as I would say. I'll take a few more calls before we wrap. Caller, you're live.
Yes, good evening, Patrick. When I was a young boy coming up, you used to if they got any disease out, not to compare with what they have now. The health department and the Red Cross and them used to come to the school and give vaccine. The company then used to ask the people and them to go and take a vaccine because this disease is out and so on. Now, we never had nothing like this in history since Cocoa Bay and Yards and them kind of thing, right? The government tried to secure that nobody gets sick and nobody dead and nobody pass away and all them kind of thing over this disease. And all of them, when the government went out and said they pay for some vaccine to the people them in Trinidad and Barbados to secure the vaccine, all of them criticized the Prime Minister. The same guy gone calling the Prime Minister all kind of big stone, all kind of dummy, all kind of thing and all them kind of thing. And you see, now the actual, what you balling to the general public for? Go bear the consequence yourself. Bear the consequence himself. Because he was warned, he was chastised, he was to make sure you get your vaccination and come back to the business to work. But instead of that, he go around and abuse people. And Patrick, you ain't got to light no lamp to look for the sky. You understand me?
Because when the Prime Minister going where he go on the plane, take pictures of the Prime Minister sitting in the chair and send it around the world and all them kind of thing. When the Prime Minister come back, just because he dirty politics, let it be a consequence. You understand me? You know, but let it go down tomorrow. They're waiting for him. Let it go down. Yes. Good evening, Patrick, and God bless you again, and bless the Prime Minister.
God bless you as well. Let's go back to the lines. Call your line.
Hello, good night. Just want to ask a question. Can unvaccinated customers shop in TDC? Hello?
I don't know, sir. I don't know, sir. The policy I have applies to
Can unvaccinated customers shop at TDC?
So you should ask that question to TDC. I'm saying I have a policy here and it refers to the employees.
So people could go in the unvaccinated and shop and interact with workers, but you can't work there unvaccinated. If you're a hypocrite, are you so?
Well, I mean, TDC is a private company. TDC makes its own decisions.
But you are defending it. How come you are telling them don't accept unvaccinated customers?
Well, you can't dictate for TDC.
Yeah, but I just show you how hypocritical you are sound. Rock and grateful.
But
Mr. Politics and Culture, two big hypocrites. And yourself.
Thanks a lot, sir. Your choices. You go into TDC or anywhere you want to shop. If you don't want to shop in there, you don't want to shop in there. If you don't like their policy, then you take your own action. Who am I or anyone to dictate for TDC? TDC has a policy circulated, and it's as the group policy. It says for crisis situations. I went through the policy. I don't see it. It speaks specifically to its workers. I'm not seeing anything except for employees. So it's your choice whether you want to take your own steps as it relates to their policy. No one can dictate for them. I mean, it's nothing outside the law, and we deal with the law in St. Kitts and Nevis. Call your line.
Thanks. It's my second call. Thank you for having me again. I have two issues. Number one, of all the argument about the COVID virus, does anyone really have the fact where the origination of this virus came from? There are so many rumors. Okay? First, they said it came from China. It was from bats that the Chinese was experiencing in a lab. Bats escape and get into the population of other bats, infected those other bats. In China, they eat bats. So it goes from bats to men. There was another theory. Snakes, the cobra. They are on the internet. I don't know if it's true or not. Now, remember back in the days when we had digital analog age. Analog was the time when you put an antenna on your rooftop, you spin it left, you spin it right till you get a good clearance of a TV station or the rotary phones. Those were analog days. Remember the birth of digital age, where it was beepers, cellular phone. That was the birth of digital. Now, look at it. COVID or coronavirus was before 2019 COVID-19. To make proof of that, look on the disinfection cans. There are a list of diseases that this disinfectant kills on the surface of anything, toilet, countertop, etc. and etc. Now, why do they call COVID-19 Corona? That's a question mark. Moving forward, in the birth of the digital age, when the cell phone towers start expanding from China to Europe to the Americas, on its way down to the Caribbean. Remember, the Caribbean never had a development of this corona or COVID virus. Whatever COVID virus came into the Caribbean was from people who came from Europe, however they come from up in this side, the east. No one developed COVID down there. You know why? Because as the digital age expand and progress from 1G, 2G, and Gs are gigahertz, the way information travel, the fast of information travel. Now 3G, 4G, from 4G development, enhancement, satellite above our head, beaming down on every man on earth, wherever the receivers or the receptors are. Now, looking back at the history of all the disease we can recall, the Spanish disease, the influenza, the measles, the mumps, wherever that had developed, it was on the epidemic side, not a pandemic. The world never see a pandemic before until this age we're living in, COVID-19 as they call. Now, any of those diseases ever travel so fast, hit the globe? No. There's no history said that. Since the digital age, 4G switching over to 5G, and who knows if it is 5G. This satellite radiation is a weapon beaming down on man, not just humans, plants, animals. Look, the scarcity of bees, the scarcity of birds. You don't see birds you used to see before 5G, 4G or whatever. The intensity of this satellite radiation kill a lot of people with weak immune system, and it started to grow in stages. As you say, as they say right now, the Delta virus. Where was the first virus? I don't believe. My theory is, I believe, is these intensity of these satellites hanging over our head. And you know what? It is all capital, money. These suckers, vampires, they would not stop, all for money. Okay? I don't believe that St. Kitts and Nevis, the Caribbean, should encourage 5G, 6G, 7G, 10G, however I escalate. We can do it 4G as it is. I hope the government will bring in any investors, allowing investors to bring in 5G, because that has impact on humans and animals, other animals.
Okay,
Thank you.
I got you, my brother. Thank you very much. If there's a final call, I'll take it. If that caller can be guided by the rules of brevity, I'll use 30 seconds.
That some callers ain't no heart at all. This shows for everybody. This is a hesitation. That is quickly, I want to talk about down the port. The Honorable Prime Minister went and he had some debate with the Indians then. I'm the ambassador, you know, to the Indians them. So I will speak on the Indians them. I want the Indians them to understand this is a pandemic. And the Honorable Prime Minister owes we, the citizens, protection. And he went and he listened to them, told them he's going to get back to them when the cabinet overlooked this thing. We want the ships, we want the business, but what we want is every cool tourist will walk through the welcome hall down there. They take a PCR test. Don't come tell me about nothing on the ship. We want to see you and how healthy you be. We want that done under the welcome hall. We got sufficient space to put 1 or 2 tents down there with the nurses and the doctor and get that done. We don't want chancing nobody just coming in the country and the sake of the money. We got to protect this country. And I want them to know that loud and clear. So anyway, think it ain't just about money, you know. We got more than money. And we want you all to understand that. All of you. This is damn young talking here. The Prime Minister, I think he's doing damn fine to get down to the small man, the big man, the middle and in between. We want this thing to go right. Once they could come and produce the PCR test under the welcome hall, don't come tell me nothing about on the ship. We want that to done in the welcome hall. And when you walk out to come to the school, in your mask, that we as Kitty shall feel proud, especially me, the ambassador for the Port Sante. God bless Simmons. And we ain't going to make no disaster here because a lot looking for disaster and they ain't going to walk here. So PM, you know what you're doing, you know. You know what you're doing. And Miss Laws and Cameron, you know what you're doing. Citizens come first. People in general come first. But more or less Kitty shall. And we got to protect that. Patches, have a good night. Enjoy yourself. Play for the country. You know we love you.
Thank you very much. I love you more. And that's the way. That's where we're going to end it tonight. My straight dog family, because my time is done and I've got to run. I want us to understand that we are still in a pandemic that's killing people. We've had over 208 million cases worldwide. We've documented over 4.4 million deaths. These are not normal times. These are unprecedented times. And we have to understand and we have to adapt and adjust ourselves. Yes, we talk about rights. And it's a big debate about rights. And we get so emotional. Here at home in St. Nevis, that debate about rights continues. But businesses have put their own protective measures in place, considering, of course, the rights of the workers, the rights of the shareholders, and the responsibility of its directors to protect those rights. Vaccines have proven to be effective, even against the Delta variant, which is more contagious. I think they say it's highly transmissible, the term they use, and may cause more severe disease. But then again, medical experts would tell you that there's a difference between just getting infected and going on to develop disease, the coronavirus. So let us do our part as good citizens to return to the progress we once enjoyed prior to the coronavirus-induced pandemic. Yes, it continues to be a great challenge, but with challenges come opportunities. And my straight dog family, yes, the companies have introduced their policies. We may agree or disagree with them, but that is their policy. If you don't want to shop in a company because you don't like their policy, that is your right as well. I said at the beginning, and I'm going to say in the end, my heart goes out to this young man who had two choices. One, get vaccinated or be terminated. And he chose the latter. No matter what he says, no matter how he curses or who he curses, the fact is, it was his choice.
The COVID came through last year. My mother also had the COVID in the States. I was working last year with all that on my mind. Never once tell TDC that I will not show up to work. And they came up with the vaccine, and I asked questions, constantly asking questions about the vaccine. And then we keep going on and on and on. We end up at a meeting with all the unvax. And, you know, I went out back to work. I was on vacation, went back out to work, and they said, well, you didn't take the vaccine, so. And I was waiting. I called this morning. And when I called, they tell me to go human resources. And the lady gave me the letter. Well, not letter. She showed me a paper, say, you terminated with immediate effect.
But that was your choice. You chose not to take the vaccine. How can you blame the country? How come you blame the government? How come you blame anybody? You must blame yourself. Look at what's happening in St. Kitts. That was reported by the PRO and the NEOC.
The response to the COVID-19 pandemic continues here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. During the period May 19th to August 18th, we have seen an increase of 663 cases, confirmed cases, of which 545 persons have recovered. There are currently 115 active cases with 7 hospitalizations and 3 COVID-19 related deaths.
And my Street Dog family, we are an intelligent people, so we must have learned by now that with choices come consequences, and with rights come responsibilities. So my message tonight is, or has been, the pandemic cares not about which political party you support. The pandemic is about politics. Politicians in St. Kitts and Nevis seem to want to win by default, but that's not going to happen. Because the Prime Minister, obviously, once you have done your analysis of his performance to date, no matter what side you support, you have to conclude that Prime Minister Harris understood the threat of the virus, the uncertainty it caused, and the time and fiscal pressure it brought to bear on our economy. Prime Minister Harris no doubt understood them, and after careful examination of how these variables affect political and economic outcomes, he made well-informed decisions. I said to you, right here in New York, the Mayor Blasio has introduced the indoor vaccine mandate. He calls it the key to New York to participate in dining out and other activities. You must be vaccinated, and that will be enforced by the government by September the 13th. And my message tonight is that it's not too late to vaccinate. Put your country above yourself, and let us together continue to manage our recovery. I mentioned earlier, and as said in parting, COVID-19 has created a ramifying public health, economic, and political crisis throughout many countries in the world. While globally the pandemic is at different stages and far from under control in some countries, now is the time for us to explore how these responses have been. Now is the time to draw from the lessons we have learned about effective public health policy making in preparation for the possible next wave of COVID-19 or for the Delta variant in St. Kitts and Nevis and or the next infectious pandemic. My Shredog family, this is no time for politics. These opposition politicians are hypocritical. The hypocrisy is rank and offensive. Do not be fooled by them. That's my story, and you better believe it. I gotta thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight. And as always, I want to thank you, the many callers, some who couldn't get in. I know it's difficult for me because I cannot really control my calls from this position. But it is what it is. And some of you could not get in. I apologize. I want to thank all those on social media, Facebook, YouTube, and just again, you can go to YouTube and just type Straight Talk with Ian Patrick Liburd and you're right there. I want to thank the Mayor of St. Paul's, Theophilus Theo Clark, at the console. I want to thank those in the back room, Bevan Wilkinson and John James. Without them, there's no Straight Talk. And without all of you, there's no Straight Talk as well. Never mind the rowdy persons. Don't believe I'm intimidated. The fact is, my dear brother Tango, I never argue with an idiot. I'll have to stoop to his level, and he may very well beat me with experience. But I understand what you said, and I'll be guided accordingly. Until we connect on Thursday, have yourself the best of what's left of tonight. Be good to all whom you meet. And my Stray Dog family, remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But you first got to believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you to the night. My Stray Dog family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Thursday.
In the morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, and for my mother's breath of life that's got me here. So whatever my mind conceives that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could.
Whether it's a dress store on 4th Street, a snacket in Kayon, or a village grocery in St. Paul's, our small businesses play an important role in our economy. By supporting these businesses, you are helping to create or keep a job or two